Roger Bindle here. I'm at the Great Taste of the Midwest, and I'm with Central Waters with Paul Graham. And I picked out Central Waters in particular because you guys are in a small community of Amherst, if I recall.
1,000 people.
And you're doing a lot of interesting things. Small community, but you're also doing some interesting things with energy. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the brewery first off.
Well, we're one of the most energy efficient breweries in the state. We've done what we can while we can afford it. And when we built the new facility about 4 years ago, the first thing we did was put in radiant floor heat because of the extreme energy saving measures that does. We had an 8,000 square foot facility that only cost $200 a month to heat back then. But our initial idea was let's put in radiant floors so then we can come along later and tie in solar thermal panels to it, and so actually heat our entire building with the sun. So in 2009 we installed about 1,000 square feet of solar thermal panels out on the back of our property, and those actually come in, they heat the concrete on the floor, but then it also goes into all of our production. So any area that we're using heat or hot water in the production area, it gets preheated through the solar. So on an average day when we got to use 190 degree water, the solar energy actually gets it up to 100 or 120, and then we're only using natural gas to get it up from 120 to 190. Before that, we were actually getting it from 44 to 190 with natural gas. So obviously a huge savings right there. But then it's also tied into domestic too. So if you go turn the hot water on in a sink or anywhere else in the brewery, that's actually getting preheated through the solar thermal as well. So it puts out about 2,500 therms on average a year. So it accounts for roughly, I'd say, 30% of our total natural gas consumption. Reduced our natural gas consumption.
Well, so you're efficient at making beer, we know now. So tell us how many types of beer, what's maybe the favorite one, and then tell us about the Bourbon Barrel Stout. That's by far my favorite.
Well, on a typical year, we do about 20 different styles of beer. Our most popular are Shine On, Mud Puppy Porter, and Glacial Trail IPA. Those are all three beers that we do year-round. We have an additional three that we do year-round as well. And then the rest are seasonals, especially the Bourbon Barrel Stout, the one you mentioned. Definitely a beer that put us on the map in Wisconsin. It's a great beer. It's a heavy imperial stout, about 8.5% alcohol. But what we do is we get used bourbon barrels straight from the distilleries. So they're draining them one day, they're on our dock the next. We're filling them immediately up with beer, and then you just let it sit for 6 months. So what that does is that's pulling a lot of those oak flavors, the bourbon flavors that are left in the barrel. You're extracting that out, and then after 6 months you get a nice, really well-balanced product that's coming through with strong vanilla flavors and oak tannins, blended with a nice, big beer. Just a wonderful product.
That it definitely is. That is by far one of my favorites. And in fact, I hate the fact that it's seasonal, so I can't get it year-round there. But another thing of being in the rural areas, they have the MREA Midwest Renewable Energy Fair up there every year, and I think you guys got a little bit to do with that also, right?
We are actually the sole beer provider for the Energy Fair. We've had a long-standing relationship with the MREA, the Midwest Renewable Energy Association, and we actually 3% of gross sales from the beer called Shine On actually gets donated straight to the MREA to help them with their mission of education. So.
And that seems very appropriate. So you're energy saving. We produce some beer there, and now I'm going to tie this thing all together with my purpose. It's broadband and beer. So tell me, how important is internet for you guys in doing business, and especially considering it's a rural area?
Extremely important. It's funny, I've been doing this for 13 years. When I started this 13 years ago, I didn't even use email. Now everything, all of the ordering, all the purchasing, everything is done via internet now, email. Obviously, websites are a massive sale point for breweries and information. Facebook has become gigantic, for staying in contact with your fans. So you can't operate without it anymore. You just can't.
Well, and then what about speed? I mean, a lot of these things you don't really need speed, but I'm assuming you're doing other things beyond the email and the chats. So, what about the broadband side of it?
We actually, we're lucky. We have a very small telephone company, Amherst Telephone Company, that supplies internet to us. and they're actually going through and installing fiber optics all through the village right now. So extremely fast speed. So obviously, if you're working on dial-up, you can't do business very fast. So speed is crucial, without a doubt.
Do you guys do things with videos also then?
We're just starting to get into video now. So we're shooting a lot of video around the brewery. We're starting to edit it, and we're going to start posting a lot of videos as well. So
there, yeah, and then that starts chewing up the bandwidth.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
So, well, you can tell it's a hot day out here today. If I've been on camera half the time here, because I'm sweating like mad. But I appreciate the time, and I'm going to have to go get me a beer here now, I think. So,
I agree.
Thanks.
Pleasure to meet you.
Man, I am sweating. I was like, ah.